Welcome back to our channel, Seekers of Truth. Ready to dive in once again? Every spiritual tradition points in its own language toward a state beyond the fluctuations of the mind, a state of pure awareness, untouched by thought, emotion, or identity. In the yogic tradition, this is known as Samadhi. It is the culmination of meditation, the flowering of consciousness when the seeker dissolves into the sought. In Samadhi, awareness no longer perceives through the lens of I and mine, but rests in its own boundless nature. To explore Samadhi is to journey into the heart of reality itself, into that silent depth from which all experiences arise and to which all return. What's the meaning of Samadhi? The word Samadhi comes from the Sanskrit root sam, together, a, toward, and dhyācha, to place or hold. It literally means to bring together or to integrate completely. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Samadhi is the final limb of the Eightfold Path, the crown of yoga. It is not simply concentration or trance, but the union of subject and object, the merging of the perceiver and the perceived into a single awareness. In this state, the dualities that define ordinary consciousness, inner and outer, self and world, observer and observed, dissolve into the radiant simplicity of being. Samadhi, then, is not something achieved, but something unveiled, as the mind grows still enough to reflect the infinite. The Stages of Samadhi. Patanjali describes several forms of Samadhi, unfolding like steps toward the infinite. In Sabikalpa, Samadhi, awareness still perceives distinctions. There may be subtle objects of meditation such as light, sound, or form, but they are perceived as transparent manifestations of consciousness itself. In Nirbikalpa Samadhi, even these distinctions vanish. There is no object left to perceive, no thought to think, no experiencer to claim experience. Only consciousness remains, self-luminous, timeless, without beginning or end. Beyond this lies Sahaja Samadhi, the effortless state in which this realization is lived continuously in daily life. The awakened one walks, speaks, and acts, yet remains unmoved in the center of pure awareness. The Psychology of Dissolution. To reach Samadhi, the mind must be understood, not suppressed. The yogic texts speak of vrittis, the fluctuations of thought that ripple across consciousness. These waves create the illusion of individuality, much like reflections on water hide the depth beneath. Meditation, self-inquiry, and devotion are methods that gradually still these ripples until the mind becomes like a mirror, perfectly clear, reflecting only the light of the self. In this silence, the sense of I am meditating fades, leaving only the pure presence of I am. The dissolution of the ego is not annihilation, but expansion, the realization that consciousness was never limited to the personal self at all, the unity of consciousness. In Samadhi, the universe reveals itself as a single field of consciousness. The Upanishads describe this as Brahman, the infinite reality that is both immanent and transcendent. The Chandogya Upanishad declares, Tattvam Asi, thou art that. This is not a metaphor, but a direct recognition. The awareness that looks out through your eyes is the same awareness that breathes through the cosmos. Modern science, too, begins to glimpse this unity through quantum entanglement, non-locality, and the interdependence of all systems. But while science describes the pattern, Samadhi experiences the essence. It is the knowing, not by intellect, but by being. The transformative power of Samadhi. The experience of pure consciousness transforms perception itself. The world, once seen as fragmented and separate, becomes luminous with meaning. In Samadhi, love is no longer an emotion, but the natural radiation of unity. Fear dissolves because there is no other left to fear. The heart awakens to compassion not as a virtue, but as a spontaneous expression of reality. This transformation does not lead to detachment from life, but to deeper participation. The awakened one sees God in all things, in the laughter of a child, the song of wind through trees, even in the quiet breath between moments. The ordinary becomes sacred because it is recognized as consciousness in form. Samadhi and the illusion of time. Another revelation of samadhi is the collapse of time. In ordinary awareness, the mind divides experience into past, present, and future, creating the illusion of movement. But in the stillness of pure consciousness, time is seen as a projection of thought, a rhythm within eternity. Samadhi reveals the eternal now, where creation and dissolution occur simultaneously. Every moment is complete, self-contained, and infinite. This timeless awareness has been described by mystics across traditions, from Meister Eckhart's eternal birth of the word in the soul, to the Zen master's suchness of the present moment. To live from this awareness is to awaken within the dream, to act, yet remain untouched by the passage of time. Living from samadhi. True samadhi is not confined to meditation. It transforms the way one lives. The awakened consciousness does not retreat from the world, but illuminates it from within. Daily life becomes a sacred act. Every gesture, every word, every encounter, a reflection of the one self. The seeker ceases to strive for enlightenment because the very striving dissolves in realization. What remains is simplicity, seeing clearly, acting compassionately, resting deeply in the awareness that everything arises and subsides within the same ocean of consciousness. To live from samadhi is to live in harmony with the whole, where freedom and surrender, stillness and action are one and the same dance of being, the infinite within. If you enjoyed this exploration, remember to check out the description below for recommended literature for you to expand on this topic. Samadhi is not an achievement, but a remembrance, the rediscovery of what has always been true. That consciousness is infinite, indivisible, and ever-present. Every practice, every struggle, every moment of longing is the soul's way of turning back toward itself. When thought dissolves into silence and the self merges with the source, what remains is indescribable yet unmistakably real. This is the heart of all mysticism, the promise of every spiritual path, that the universe is conscious and we are that consciousness knowing itself.